Welcome back on the AM show, and I have the singular pleasure of giving you a lady clad in, let me check out the color. What color is this?
Pink.
Pink?
Yeah.
That's quite a shade of pink.
Yeah, it's a
lovely.
It's a dark pink. Yeah.
Mapitso, Sebidi.
Good morning,
Good
Benjamin.
to have you on the show.
Good to be here,
It's
Benjamin.
been a while.
It has been a while. It's a Monday morning. How was your weekend?
My weekend was a bit tiring, so at a point I had to do what we have to do.
Okay.
I didn't switch off my phones. I silenced them and threw them somewhere.
And
so I missed some calls, even some from here, someone who wanted me to do something. But I just had to do that because you know how it is.
It's very necessary. Rest is very good.
Very important.
And I'm sure they found someone else to do it.
So it was a personal thing.
Okay.
And it's something that I can still do for the person.
Okay.
So if my sleep had been disturbed, I would have ended up with headaches and all of that. But thankfully, I got all the sleep I needed, woke up, and here I am.
Okay, that's
It's been a beautiful week. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. I was with family. We had a barbecue. We swam. It was good. It was a good weekend. Like a very wholesome weekend. And then on Sunday, we went to, there's a place in Kanda, and they sell kenke. Yeah, it's like a kenke house. And then we had kenke and fish, and then, yeah. It was a good weekend.
It's too early to get me salivating. Just yesterday, I watched this right before we get into the papers. This steak. So someone was looking at rind steak versus Wagyu steak. You know, the most expensive in the world. And I was just like, dude, throw me a slice.
So let me also, be part of the judges. Let me be part of the judges.
We also joined. The AM News Review is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We'll be telling you a bit more about them. They are offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. You can locate them in Accra Spintex opposite the Shell signboard in Kumasi, Kronoma, Buehia, behind the Angel Educational Complex in Takrade, Anaji Estate in Tema Community 22, in Techiman in Hanswa and Esiamanzima. Call them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Just pay them a visit. This morning, I have the Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, The Finder, and the Daily Statesman. What do you have?
I have the Daily Guide, Republic Press, the New Publisher, the Custodian, and the Ghanaian Publisher.
Let me also announce that we'll be joined on Zoom by Educationist and Country Director, International Child Development Program, Joyce Lanyo. Madam Lanyo, a very good morning to you. If you can hear me, Madam Lanyo, good morning. Okay, we'll try to reconnect with her when the feed patches through. Okay, let's do this one last time. Madam Lanyo, a very good morning to you. Maybe you'd have to unmute. Hello? Madam Joyce Lanyo, a very good morning to you. All right, so we'll get back to her. The Daily Graphic this morning, and one place that has been pretty turbulent in recent weeks with a lot of talk. Years have passed, decades in fact, with this conflict simmering, going on the low, and now it's resurging again. The Boku conflict. 27 pregnant women die over inability to access hospital. So this is a different angle to some of the challenges in that part of the country. But SHS freshers to report February the 20th. There's NAELP project, degraded lands restored. Residents appeal for expansion of program. I'll bring you some details of that. OSP charges for failure to declare incomes. And that is something, you see a lot of people in Ghana riding X type of car and all of that. Yet, if you go into their salaries, you would wonder,
it doesn't make sense.
Are they able to do that? And oftentimes we don't ask any questions. They get the front row in churches and all of that.
Because they're sponsoring programs at the church.
Our hypocrisy right in our faces. We hail these people, and then later when it is proven that maybe they are doing something nefarious, we didn't know, but
did you ask?
How did we think they were?
Did you ask?
You know what kills me? Parents. Some parents. You have a child who is a teen or in the early 20s, and all of a sudden they have a Range Rover and all sorts of things, and you, the parent, they are
my child is doing well.
Yeah.
My prayers have been answered.
Have you asked yourself what exactly your child is doing?
He or she's probably like 23, changing cars, has iPhones. But you know what? I also, not that I understand but like I get the parents. It's because it's like, this is my child and this is my hope. And at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, we do care, but it's just like, oh, this is my hope. This is what I prayed for. So you don't really go into the details, or you just say that this is what I prayed for and God has done it for us.
When the consequences come, you realize that is exactly what your worst fear, and now it's coming to reality.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's unfortunate. But
let's check out some of these stories. So, the National Land Reclamation Project rolled out by the government to restore lands degraded by illegal mining activities is receiving endorsement from residents of mining communities. The project, which is part of the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program, that is the NAELP, under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, is targeted mainly at degraded lands that straddle water bodies with the ultimate aim of restoring the lands while breathing a new lease of life into rivers. Adopting community participation, the reclamation project started in the last quarter of last year with 1,000 hectares of degraded lands being reclaimed. 6 months into the project, the chiefs and residents of mining areas in the Ashanti, Western North, and Eastern regions are already counting the gains. The Daily Graphic undertook a 3-day visit to 4 reclamation sites located in the Sefirioso and the Bibiani, Ahmiaso, Bekwai municipalities and the Dwaboso district in the Western North region, where it observed high enthusiasm among the community members. And this is something to smile about, especially on the back of Galamsey, its ravages, and what it does to our environment. I just hope this project will be sustained. What I love about it, the fact that it's engaging the communities.
Yeah.
You get it.
The people,
so young people get to assist and maybe earn something out of doing that, which is a good thing. At least someone who is jobless would get something to do.
Instead of going the other side and doing galamsey,
and maybe engaging in crime.
Yeah, engaging in crime. This is something productive.
Just to wrap on the 2 stories, so there's page 16 and page 20. I'll just go quickly through them so we can check out other papers and what they have to share with us this morning. 27 pregnant women die over inability to access hospital. That's in Boku. And between 2021 and last year, 27 pregnant women in need of critical medical attention died in the Boku municipality. A senior health officer at the Upper East Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service, Majid Suleimana, has disclosed. Whereas 20 of the pregnant women died in 2021, 7 had died by the end of December last year. Quoting him, he says, "This is as a result of the inability of the pregnant women to visit and receive medical care at the Boku Presbyterian Hospital, the only major referral health facility in the heart of the municipality." So this is basically it. If they don't go there, they're not going to have access, which says a lot about health opportunities in that community. There's also, SHS freshers to report February the 20th. That is those who have graduated from the basic level. But let me just wrap from that health bit. Let me wrap with the story on page 20. OSP charges 3 for failure to declare incomes, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor has charged 3 public servants and a civil servant for allegedly failing to comply and declare their sources of income. Their failure to declare their sources of income is in contravention of the OSP regulation 2018, that is LI 2374. A statement issued by the OSP on Friday named the 4 as Issa Seidu, who works with the National Insurance Commission, James Kek Osei, who works with the Office of the Vice President as an administrator, as well as John Abban and Peter Archibald Hyde, both of whom are senior officers with the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority. I couldn't help myself, especially considering the name of Peter Archibald Hyde. What did he have to
hide? Interesting.
Anyway, so that's on the OSP note and the bit about the lack of hospital facilities in Boku. I find that really troubling. It's replicated in different parts of the country.
And it's unfortunate. You know, when there's like a war or something is happening, it's always the most vulnerable that get affected. It's not the ones on the battlefield, but it's the ones that are just bystanders. The 27 pregnant women, the children, the old, the elder people. So it's just unfortunate what's happening. But let's go to the Daily Guide, and the big story there is Parliament grills Oforiatta on the debt exchange. We also have BOG funded government to save the economy. That's according to Dr. Ernest Addison. And $7 million forestry fund approved. Let's go to page 3. Parliament grills Oforiatta on the debt exchange. Now, the Business Committee of Parliament, pursuant to a directive by the Speaker, has programmed the Minister for Finance, Ken Oforiatta, to present a policy brief on the domestic debt exchange program on Thursday. Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Frenyo-Markin, who disclosed this, said the leadership, after the engagement with the Finance Minister, realized that a Tuesday schedule could not be possible, and he was presenting the business statement for the second week, Friday, February 17, 2023. According to him, the minister indicated that he had committed to an early engagement on behalf of the government on the said Tuesday. Interesting stuff happening with this debt exchange.
I was
Benjamin.
I found it particularly interesting when Madam Sophia Akakpo, the former Chief Justice,
right,
got there that day, totally unexpected, and her comments biting, really. And I just thought to myself, if she's feeling the pinch,
imagine Kweku, Abena, Kwame.
Yeah. If she's feeling the pinch with all the perks of her job and everything, and if she's coming out to do this, and I applaud her for doing that, because sometimes the impression is that for some categories of people at the apex of our society, really, in terms of what they have done and what they have made, they don't feel the pinch, and so they leave these matters for the folks down there to fight. I found it really inspiring that she would join the fight. She also said that it wouldn't be her last time showing up there.
And lawyer Martin Pebu was saying that she's broken a glass ceiling, because most of, like you're saying, most of these conversations happen for, Kweku, Kwame and Abna, but, Madam Sophia went and she spoke for the people, and so it's quite commendable. It's quite commendable, yeah. But let's go to
They've
Zoom.
promised to return those picketing. They've promised to return today. They'll continue today.
But it's
they do about an hour or two.
So unfortunate. They do an hour or two because they don't have the energy. They don't have, it's just really, really, really sad. But let's see if we can go back to our guest on Zoom, Joyce Lanyo. Good morning. Madam
Lanyo, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you join the conversation. So maybe we'll start from this point. We've been talking about a number of matters, but two that I think I'll reserve for you now. One of them has to do with the Daily Graphic newspaper and the lack of access to health facilities in Boku, which has led to the deaths of 27 pregnant women over the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022. And the story that Mapitso Sebidi was just reading as well about the domestic debt exchange program. And in fact, we were just talking about the former Chief Justice, Sophia Akakpo, joining them last week. Any quick thoughts on this situation with pregnant women and the domestic debt exchange?
Yeah, good morning to your viewers, and I'm glad to be back to have a discussion on some of these issues. Ghana has aspired to achieving the universal health coverage. And so in looking at the standards, we will have to make health available to everybody, including women, and especially pregnant women. So it's heart-wrenching and heartbreaking to see pregnant women, going through such a difficult situation. Women are wired in a way that they bring some form of life to everybody, husbands, children, family members. So in the case where you have children not able to access health service and leading to death, it's rather unfortunate. So I think the authorities must live up to whatever we have signed to, and make it available, make the health service available to everybody, including pregnant women. You know, pregnancy is a situation where the clients cannot do anything apart from visiting the health facility. So if the facility is not available for pregnancy service, then it's rather unfortunate. That's why they tend to these traditional health systems that affect them in the long run. So I believe the health authorities in Boku will have to relook at their strategies and think through, find ways and means to make this available to every woman within the community. Otherwise, then we are heading towards disaster, in my view, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And on the bit about the domestic debt exchange, Mapitso, we actually had the former Chief Justice, Sufaya Kufu, there joining them last week. Any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting to see the former Chief Justice joining the group to protest against the domestic debt exchange program. These are elderly people and our pensioners, like we are saying. And their monies that they've suffered over the years to have and then investing in your own resources to support government. And now government is telling you that, look, it's unfortunate, I'm in this situation, I cannot pay you back your monies or your interest, and so hold on for a number of years. It's like telling them to go and die, because majority of them live on some of these funds to take care of expenses, especially medical expenses. And you know, arriving or achieving those ages goes with health issues. So for the whole Chief Justice, my goodness, joining this demonstration and speaking her mind, I think it's high time the government listen to it, because these are people who have served their dues and they are just there to make use of whatever they've earned over the years to support themselves, to support their families, grandchildren, and all that. Some even have their children still abroad where they have to be paying these school fees. And to tell them this, it's like stabbing them and not acknowledging the elderly within our society and what they've contributed to. So I think with the inclusion of the Chief Justice in this particular agenda, the government just have to pay hidden years to what they are saying and grant them their wish.
Madam,
Otherwise,
yeah,
them are going home empty-handed, and it's going to affect their health, their livelihoods, and all that. It's clear. Don't kill pensioners. I mean, so in my view, I think the government will still have to come back and negotiate with them in a manner that will be acceptable, rather than finding elderly people in the sun, Chief Justice, the whole Chief Justice joining in. It's time the government pays heed to what they are saying so that they come to an amicable solution.
Madam Lanyo, are you personally affected by this?
Personally, no, but
Okay.
I actually appreciate their plight.
Yeah.
And I feel it. For these are my aunties, and very soon I'll join the bandwagon.
Yeah.
And using my savings over the years is blocked in such a manner. I mean, it's just to tell me that, look, you can do whatever you do, or maybe that will be it for you. And you know, these things are depressing, very worrying. If you have to be visiting the hospital every month, depending on sources of funding from this end, and it doesn't come, how do you take care of yourself? Especially with the dollar exchange rate and medical bills quadrupling. So I think this will have to have a human face to the discussion to allay some of the fears that we are envisaging to happen to them in the near future. And I am with them. I agree with them. I sort of buy into what they are saying, because very soon I'll be part of them. And imagine how I will feel. I have my children abroad. I have to take care of them. How do I do that if you block my savings and refrain me from getting access to it? So a human face, if you ask me, should be put to this discussion so that there will be mutual and amicable solution to the challenge they are facing now.
All right. Still in the daily guide, BOG funded government to save the economy. Dr. Addison, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, has defended the central bank's decision to finance government's expenditure last year. According to Dr. Addison, Ghana's economy would have destabilized had the BOG not intervened. And I quote, "We need to remember where we are coming from at the beginning of 2022 when we lost access to the capital market," he said. This is a government that had access to the capital market for at least $3 billion US each year, but we started 2022 with the downgrading of the economy, and therefore the source of financing was not available. That's one story. We also have, in the world of entertainment, South African rapper aka shot dead. I'm sure you saw that. It's been trending over the weekend. Some very, very sad
Looks
story
like
there.
the gang violence, or maybe this violence that often attacks musicians in the United States and other places, is catching up in South Africa as well.
I wouldn't say catching up, because in the last year we've only had like, what, 3 incidents?
But that's a lot.
That is a lot.
That is a lot. Every life lost is a lot.
Is a lot. Well, yeah, it was unfortunate. The video was terrible.
It actually brings back to mind the legendary reggae musician Lucky Dube and what happened to him, and the person later saying, "I didn't even know it was." I mean,
so with that, okay, yeah, it was what's this thing called, a house robbery gone wrong, yeah, or housebreaking gone wrong,
and in a way,
but
mistaken
identity. But with this one, it was clearly targeted. Yeah, if you see the video, it was clearly targeted. So oh man, it's a sad story. But let's go to another one. 4 grabbed over unexplained wealth. You touched on that story. I'd like Madam Joyce to touch on that story. 3 wealthy public servants and a civil servant have been arrested by the special prosecutor for failing to declare their sources of income. So in an operation known as a lifestyle audit of the rich. They're scheduled to appear before the Criminal Division of the High Court today, or they are scheduled to appear before the Criminal Division of the High Court today, according to the OSP. The OSP is using the power bestowed upon it to demand an explanation for how people obtain their wealth, a practice known as an unexplained wealth order. Your thoughts on this? 4 grabbed over unexplained wealth, and also the BOG funding government to save the economy, according to Dr. Ernest Addison.
Okay, so let me take the BOG issue. You know, before we got to where we were, economists were raising concerns about our debt to GDP rate. And it kept rising. People were talking about it. But yet still, we could not avert the situation. And that brought us to where we are. So I believe even in all these equations, the Bank of Ghana has not given us a clear way as to how we can overcome some of these challenges. But, policy rates and all those things are being increased. So I believe the Bank of Ghana should consistently engage with the system, the policy makers, to be able to find solutions to some of these challenges before we get to where we are. Once we are there, then we are debt distressed. So we have to look for options and other ways to actually alleviate our distress. And I believe if we had started listening to the economists, to people with the skills and the knowledge on where we were heading towards to, we wouldn't have gotten to a stage where we would go to IMF and then borrow, and then they give us their rules and regulations, and we'll come back to just come and put pressure on every situation here in Ghana, every group of persons working, every investment within the session. This has even gone to the extent of collapsing. The economists are saying that if you are not careful, banks will be collapsed. because of this situation. So we need to follow. Bank of Ghana will have to consistently follow some of these engagements in order to arrest the situation before we get to where we are. And then in the midst of our distress, other policies are being channeled. I mean, how do we manage? How do we keep up the pace with the situation we find ourselves? So for me, I think Bank of Ghana and then its key stakeholders will have to be constantly looking at ways and means to alleviate pain and economic distress, financial distress of citizenry, and put up policies and procedures that will make us a bit comfortable.
And even as you speak of that, let me just chip in this. I already brought it up, Sophia Kufu's bit, but I find it interesting because Gabi Otredako, you know him, cousin to the president, tweeted for a former CJ, and this is part of a lengthy tweet of his, the sixth part, in fact, for a former CJ to take up a noble cause such as she did, but at such late hour when all was done, and for all that publicity, she owed it to herself and her social standing to have understood the issues far better than what she exhibited last Friday. She is bigger than that. In other words, saying she may have done this for publicity and that she didn't exhibit enough knowledge about the area. Check out this response by Joyce Bawa Mokhtari, former assistant to the former president, who says, "No, sir, I totally disagree with you. As the saying goes, better late than never. Service to humanity must be above an individual. Former CJ Sophia Kufu deserves respect and praise, not gloved insults from you, Gabi, and the MPP government." So that's someone who speaks for former President John Dramani Mahama. What is your quick reaction to this?
I think I want to agree with Joyce Bauer. Look, she just left the government. And so she's part of the government. She was part of the government. She was the whole Chief Justice. And to see her colleague pensioners, I'm sure they have an association where they attend meetings and discuss issues that affect them. So being part of this fraternity, she couldn't have sat down and observed her colleagues who are also equally on pension suffering this fate. And I don't want to sound political. I mean, you are talking about lives of people. You are talking about hard-earned investments. And so we cannot run and say it's just too late to come in. Better be late than never. So I think she has come at a time where her voice will play a key role in government, to actually come into terms and have a discussion and allay the fears of these our pensioners. The Chief Justice, in all uncertain terms, I'm sure, has what it takes. But she's feeling the plight of her colleagues, her colleague pensioners. Probably she's having classmates among them. She's having friends. She's having family members. At the end of the day, it will impact on her to some extent. So as a public figure, we need her voice to be able to bring the information to government. Once she was also part of the higher echelon public official, her voice was needed to bring the information right to the doorstep of our ministers and our president, for them to appreciate. Look, if you are in the soup, you know how the soup is boiling.
Right.
If you are on the periphery and you wouldn't appreciate it. So I think she came in at the right time to bring this information to the doorstep, because she's also been part of government some time past.
Right.
And as a public figure, we will need her voice to help address the situation.
I will quickly go through two papers and wrap from my end, and Mapitso will come in as well. The Ghanaian Times newspaper, danger on varsity campuses, police increase presence to check crime and insecurity. Government invests $1 billion in water sanitation. That's according to the sector minister, Cecilia Dapa. Don't stigmatize epilepsy patients. That's according to Dr. Redu. And treason trial, High Court sets today for case management conference. Let's go to page 13. The police administration will soon introduce the Police Visibility and Undercover program on university campuses to check student violence and crime in general to improve security in public universities across the country. The IGP, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare, said this on Friday while addressing the lecturers, deans, heads of department and students of the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani. You can check out more details of that story from there. But there's also on the page before, page 12, government invested $1 billion in water sanitation. And the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Mrs. Cecilia Abnadapa, says the government has so far invested close to $1 billion to facilitate the provision of sustainable water and sanitation needs across the country. Maybe I'll be asking all of you out there whether you are feeling the impact of that and what you're looking forward to as a part of that. The Finder newspaper, economic difficulties will be resolved. That's according to President Akufo-Addo. And the story that I'll look at on page 5, row in Parliament over public elections regulations, CI. So let's get to that. The leadership of Parliament Friday directed the exclusion of the constitutional instrument on public elections regulations, voters registration, in its business statement for next week. We all know what that entails. The Electoral Commission is asking that we should use the Ghana card for continuous registration, and members of the NDC, the minority in Parliament, have said no, because this could disenfranchise some people. Any quick thoughts on one or two of these stories?
Yeah, using the Ghana card alone, we just migrated to the use of Ghana card in almost all our dealings, in transactions, financial transactions, identification purposes, DVLA, and all that. And I mean, you agree with me that a chunk of the population are still struggling with their Ghana card registration and how to access it. So I believe that with the use of this card, there should be a process to transit everybody onto the Ghana card system. Because some people, a chunk of the population, still do not have Ghana card for reasons best known to them. There should be public awareness, there should be a creation of all the necessary channels of information for people to appreciate the importance of this Ghana card. Such that if this law is being sent to Parliament, and especially without the general debate of the House, a chunk of the opposition saying, look, this is illegal, it didn't go through the process, then it has to be looked at. But if it's rather a push into the system struggle, or you know, how do I put it? It's put into the system clandestinely without a chunk of members of Parliament debating it and appreciating the outcomes of what they are doing, then we are leaving a chunk of the populace behind when it comes to election. And you can imagine when it comes to election, what happens when people simply cannot use any other card apart from the Ghana card to.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
From the custodian, same stories really. NPP, NDC MPs battle over ECCI. We also have Oferiata to face the Parliament on the DDP. From the Republic Press, we have 4 in OSP soup for failure to declare source of income. NDC to the Attorney General, withdraw your unlawful letter to the Auditor General. And the last one that we've already discussed, Gabby chides Sophia Akufo for picketing over the DDP. But also in the world of sports, Chris Hughton is Black Stars' new coach. And we have a very interesting conversation coming up. Mufta will handle that for us. But Madam Joyce Lanyo, thank you so much for your time and spending this Monday morning with us.
Thank you, and it's always my pleasure.
Madam Lanyo is an educationist and country director, International Child Development Program, and she joined us for that conversation. But up next,
it's sports.
Yes, we have sports with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. A lot to look forward to. Don't you forget, later on we'll also be bringing you that scoop on Chris Hughton and his appointment after the big story on education. Do stay with us.